What's good, y'all? You dub back here again here in 2019. Let's get it. Now, this is a long promise video that I intentionally held off because I'm like, I do not feel like giving the energy to this one. I was dealing with work. I was dealing with a lot of personal mess. Right? But we here the day after Thanksgiving. I hope y'all feeling grateful. At least it was Thanksgiving in the United States. I think Thanksgiving should be something across the globe. Honestly, it's a universal thing, regardless of what your spiritual views are, what your faith, which we should all be learn to be more thankful, more contented. It doesn't mean don't be ambitious, and trust me, this goes along with this video. It doesn't mean don't strive for more, strive for greater, want more excellence, want to be successful, not want to kowtow to people, be a slave, be not doing anything. But be grateful. Be grateful for the small things in life. Be grateful for the people in your life. Be grateful for your health. Be grateful for your mental health. Because not everybody got that mental health. Even though who's got physical health and mental health ain't there. Be grateful, you're able to be mobile. You're able to be, you're able to make a living. You're able to survive out here. Doesn't mean you're at where you want to be. But be grateful for the little things. If you're in a great marriage, trust me, be grateful for that because there are some of us who want that. If you got healthy kids, be grateful for that because not everybody got that. See what I'm saying? Be grateful for these things and look towards a better future through you and others. Now, with all that being said, what is Unfiltered? If you are a new subscriber, if this is your first time, you somehow stumbled across this video, it's amazing because it's YouTube. I know others say it, but seriously, in my channel, it's amazing to me that I'm now actually getting new subs, that I'm now actually getting people viewing my videos. Because YouTube does not like to broadcast people like myself. Unfiltered is 1000% raw, real, uncut. It's already unfiltered, as the name goes. It is unvarnished. There is no veneer here. You're going to get it, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, you may disagree with me if you want to. You can have a conversation with me. I encourage that because this is actually a free speech platform on this channel. As long as you're respectful, as long as there is no harassment and attacking of anybody's position, we can have it. You can have a different perspective. But in this video, I hope YouTube will actually push this video because it's educational. This is going to be dealing with economics 101, 102, and 103. Okay? It's going to be dealing with the difference between economics and business. What is actually economics? What is actual business? I may go in depth about at least a little bit, not full blown economic philosophies, but I will be talking about what actually capitalism is, what actually socialism is, what actually communism is, what is bartering, what is a free market, what are these things, what supply and demand, things of that nature. All right. To give you a crash course. Now, this ain't a course in entrepreneurship. There are a plethora of videos I go to. There are very successful entrepreneurs and gentlemen, ladies who are multimillionaires, who are much more educated and way more successful than I have ever been in my life. Who've been doing this for over a decade. If you really want to gain knowledge in the business, go to them. But if you want this rudimentary course as to what things are and what they're not, you can come to me. I'm great at giving you the intro. All right? Because a lot of times for other people, you're going to have to go for seminar after seminar, hours upon hours. I ain't going to waste your time because time is valuable. So, what is economics, ladies and gentlemen? In bare bones simple. And yes, if you see me have a glove on, it's because it's cold as hell out here. It's not the coldest thing, but it is. Bare bones simple. Economics is what? Really, it's trade. But what does trade mean? It means that you are utilizing surplus of resources and, how to put this? You're utilizing surplus of resources. You're exchanging that for compensation in another form. For example, the simplest form that I always bring up. Let's say you had some fish, right? Let's say you were a fisherman, or you just, you went out and caught some fish in a lake or river, stream, the sea, whatever the case may be, right? You say for your family, you got 3 fish, big size, good size fish, right? some groupers, some trout, wherever your salmon, wherever you at, tuna. Let's say you had 2 to 3 more extra. Now they're gonna go to waste. You can't, you got 2 young children, you got your wife, yourself. You ain't gonna use all that fish, you know. And so you like, yo, Bobby, Bobby's your neighbor or whatever, and Bobby is going, man, you got all them fish? Bro, I could use them. You're like, bro, I need some firewood. Bobby hands you the firewood, and you handed Bobby them 3 extra fish. That's economics. Bada bing, bada boom. That's trade. You had a surplus of a product, and you gave it to him. Now, understand that in economics, there are 3 ways to do economics and concording. This is where business and economics meet. Where economics becomes business is in business, there are 3 types of businesses. 3 types, just 3. Don't get all lost in the sauce that, oh yes, there was a bunch of different industries. There's tech, there's agriculture, there's fashion, there's you name it. We understand it. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm talking the simple bare bones. There are 3 types of businesses. There is product-based businesses. There are product-based businesses. There are service-based businesses, and there are businesses that provide both. Product-based businesses. For example, if you have lumber, right? Lumberjacking, right? That's a product-based business. If you're a farmer, that is a product-based business. If you are in the textile industry, that is a product-based business. Service-based business. If you're in a trade job, if you're a carpenter, you're a plumber, you are an electrician, those type jobs, those are service-based businesses. Now, I've worked in pretty much all 3 of these, so I have experience I know what I'm talking about. I have experience with all of these. And the third type is product and service. A lot of like fast food joints, they provide a product and a service. Restaurant industry, pretty much the most of the food industry that you deal with on the reg. All right. Retail is both, is product and service. Okay. And so depends on what type of retail. Some are more product based, but a lot of them are product and service. All right. So there is that. Now, economics 101, supply and demand. A lot of people confuse that why things cost. All right. And in this, I'm going to have to explain value. When we're talking about economics and value is not the same as the connotative definition where people, on not vulgarly, but the vernacular of what value is, how someone values something. That plays a part, but it's not the same as economic value. Economic value is determined by how much someone desires and what someone is willing to compensate you for, what someone is willing to pay for. For example, something has great value, personal value to someone. Well, it's really what the market deems, but I'll explain that in a second. Versus your personal preference. A family heirloom that your mom had is some pearl earrings that are trash. They're worth $25. And you can say, well, how can you determine just because one person deems something? If most people aren't willing to pay for it, bro, it's not accessible. Plus, what is it going to be able to sell for? Right? The average comic book industry is a great one. The average comic is ranging anywhere from $1 to $5. And I put that threshold because it depends. Now, if you're having an entire volume, that can run you anywhere from $15 to $35. Okay. But when you're talking about collectibles, rarities, supply and demand, the demand for something, you could have a massive supply. If you have a massive supply and low demand, you're going to drive down the cost, right? But if you have massive demand and not enough supply, you're going to drive it up. Cannabis versus apples. Apples, huge amounts of supply. The demand is, it's going to drive down the cost. Cannabis, high amount of demand, not enough supply, going to drive up the cost. Even if you're talking whether it be illicit or non-illicit, that's just the nature of economics. Economics is based on logic, okay? So, supply and demand, important, value, okay? Law of diminishing returns is another thing I can go into, to where you can keep going and going. It's like an appetite, right? At a certain point, you're full and you're not going to go there. So there's something to be considered. Um, I'm trying to think of the basic economic laws that I can get into. Again, you can read a book on economics. Those are the predominant bases. Now, when it comes to business, again, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll forego some of the other ones, and we can come back at another time if you want me to talk more on economics and economic philosophies. When you're coming with business, I already mentioned the three types of businesses. Okay, there is also something called the quadrant, right? Economic quadrant, business quadrant, whatever you want to call it. There's like different terms for it. But there are four types of workers, four types of labor, four types of mindsets as well that go along with this. You have the E quadrant up in the left. You have the S quadrant right below it in the lower left hand. In the upper right hand, you have the B quadrant. In the lower right hand, you have the I quadrant. Now, the E quadrant is employee, excuse me. The S quadrant is small business slash self-employed. The B quadrant is big business, and the I quadrant is investor. Each of them are important. None of them are wrong. You actually need all of them to be in a flourishing, successful economy. And an economy is the pretty much the macrocosm of all economic endeavors, and it just depends on the society. And I'll get more into why that's important in a second. When it comes to employees, all right, this is your typical 9 to 5. Almost 95 to 98% of people fall under the employee class that you'll deal with. Even if they're career people, they're still employees, more than likely. Employees work at a set rate or a set salary. If that's the case, they're hourly or salary. It still doesn't matter. They work for someone else. They produce labor and they get compensated. It's a guarantee. You're looking for the guaranteed paycheck, for the stability, these kind of things. Not wrong, but this is the mentality and what goes along with it. When it comes to the self-made, the small businesses, this is where the most businesses you will ever encounter come from. This is your mom and pop shops. This is your laborer, as far as in your tradesmen. Okay, skilled workers, your carpenters, your plumbers who go out on their own and stake their own claim. They have to get clients, customers. Okay, they have to either make contractual agreements with suppliers, or they themselves have to go and get it. Like they have to buy, so they have to do a lot of the legwork. They're the ones, starting to employ people, things of that nature. These are people who, they're not going to get more than a few franchises. They're not looking to expand nationally and globally. Okay, they're people who are hands on, who are independent minded, who want to do things on their own. They want to not micromanage, but they want things to be under control. Now, you go to the big business folk, generally what you hear when you read a legal format, a big business is usually 500 or more employees. This is pretty accurate. That's on the smaller side of big businesses. This is where you get into franchising, which for most people who don't know the history of franchising, look it up. It only goes back to about the 1950s. You had certain gentlemen whose mentality expanded. It's very expansive. It's looking to be a manager of managers. Okay, it's looking to more of a structural hierarchy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some forms is you have independent entrepreneurs working under you, under your leadership. Here it is you're learning to lead a lot of different people and a lot of different departments, and it's a lot going on. These are massive structures. These are where you see your empires being built. And then with that mentality, you got to be more of a delegator rather than hands-on approach. You can get down and dirty, but you can't do everything. You would spread yourself thin, and it's physically impossible in a big business format to try to do everything. You just can't. Okay, you might can-ish do that to a lesser degree in small business, depending on how small the business is. Even if it's small businesses but it's expanded, you can't do that. You still got to learn how to delegate regardless. Okay. And now finally, you have the investor. And the investor is pretty self-explanatory. The investor promotes money. Now, the investor can be involved in business, but the investor is more so hands-off. The investor is like, yo, listen, I'm going to seed money. I'm going to do what I can. You see things like Shark Tank are a great example. Donald Trump, I always say, is an investor more so than a businessman. Doesn't mean he can't do business. Doesn't mean he doesn't understand business, but he invests. He gives you the capital to be able to seed into what you do. And they're looking for a bit of return. They're looking to be hands off. It's more on the intellectual side of matters rather than down in the trenches getting dirty on a day in and day out rudimentary nature. Okay. So you have different types of personality types and you can kind of find where you belong in your niche. I kind of know me for me personally, and I haven't been there as of yet successfully, but I'm more the S and I quadrant. I could do big business, but I don't really like dealing with people on that level. And E, I've done it, but it's not where I want to be. Other people are fine with being in E quadrant for their entire lives, which is nothing wrong with it. You can be heavily compensated. You're not going to be the massive wealth like in the B, I, or even to a lesser degree in the S, but you can make a good pretty penny if you know what you're doing. You know how to navigate those waters. Okay, so if I forget certain things that I said I'd talk about, remind me. I can do a part two, or I can comment on the in the comment section. I have a lot of thoughts running through my mind as I'm doing this one, and I have some other videos to do as well today. Regardless on that, we're gonna move on to capitalism, socialism, communism, bartering, and other things. Okay, and free markets. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is a market? A market is a little bit kind of vague. I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the more difficult um, concepts for me to figure out. One of the most difficult because it's simple yet complex. It's kind of like trying to master a sport or a game, a card game, a board game, video game. Like you can understand the basic concept, but really to understand it, you gotta dig deep. So, how I would, in bare bones layman terms, describe a market is a set of interactions for a specific product or service. Remember this, a set of interactions for a specific product or service. For example, a market can be for washing machines. It can be as small as that. A market can be damn near an entire industry, the oil industry, right? A market can be as small as your neighborhood. A market can be as small as your school, a school function. A market can be as large as almost an entire nation or even globally. It just depends. So that's why I say it's kind of difficult. It depends on what your parameters and focus are. And you need to know that. All right. Going in, you need to know what your goal is, what your aim is. If you have the idea, on a side note, on a tangent, if you have the idea of I want to be the best, I want to be the biggest, the baddest, I want to run an empire. A lot of people claim they want an empire. They don't understand what that means. Most people know the hell you don't. No, you don't want to run an empire. An empire is a hell of a lot of work. You are a slave to long hours, dealing with people and things. You think, oh, I'm going to be compensated. You better be willing to spend anywhere from a decade to 4 decades of your life talking from successful entrepreneurs. They tell you this. And you think, oh, I'm just going to be wealthy. You're going to have no time. Your family life, if you don't know how to balance, you're going to have a family life. You're not going to be partying. You're not going to be, if you want to be successful, you got to, I just watched a video from Value Entertainment on YouTube. He talked about being all in, being full blown in, 100%. You're not going to have time. You'll have money coming in eventually because it doesn't happen at first, more than likely. It's very rare that companies explode. Very, very rare. So don't expect it to be glamorous. It's a lot of menial, everyday grind, nose to the grindstone. Plus, you got to have the vision to be imperial. But besides all of that, so capitalism, all right, communism, socialism. Before I go into what each of those, in brief, economic philosophies are, let me talk about the pillars of economics. You could say the pillars of business that kind of both go hand in hand in this case. There are 4 areas. Cuatro. Now, there's a few different variations of these terms, but it's the same basic principles. Okay. There is investment or capital in a lot of cases people say. Okay. There is labor, there are tools or means, okay, and there is resources, right? Now, capital or investment is obvious. You front the cost to something, you invest in something, you bring forth $100,000, $50, $50,000, whatever you can put forth into your company, into your project, the business, right? To get it up and running. The initial cost, to be able to cover certain costs, the upfront costs and the back end costs, all right? Labor is pretty much self-explanatory. We're talking about the actual labor force, the laborers, the people who get things done, right? Who cause things to run. The means of production. You're talking about your technology bases. You're talking about your infrastructure, okay? The way things are done. And your resources are your products, okay? If you're talking even in tech, everything has resources, right? You're talking land, if you're talking farmers, you're talking whatever your base is of what you're able to do. For some, it's the internet, okay? So you can do this in regardless of the industry. These are across the board, okay? If you ever want to understand how businesses and economics run, these are the pillars. And if you don't understand this concept, you will never be successful in business, period. Your business will fail to launch. Trust me on this one. I've tried a few. I've yet to be successful in any of them. And part of it, I learned these lessons the hard way, okay? So, capitalism says focus on capital, focus on the investment. Socialism, communism and socialism kind of trade off of these, but there is a key distinction. Socialism says focus on the means of production, the factories and such, okay? Focus on those regards, the technology basis, right? You need to own that. That's what socialism teaches. Communism says your resources, the land, the iron ore, gold, diamond, those things are most important. Myself, in my personal perspective, and everybody misses the boat, is the labor. I don't care if you have the biggest money backers, the deepest pockets. I don't care if you have the best tools, the best technology, the most state of the art. I don't care if you have the whole ocean or the entire nation. If you don't have the skilled labor and skilled workers, it's going to fail. You can say sports, you can look at sports teams. You know when your team doesn't have the prerequisite talent. You can look at doctors. I don't care if the doctors have the most state of the art. If the doctor doesn't know what he or she is doing, then that doctor is not going to be massively effective. You can look in retail. If you don't have the workers, your company's going to fail. You're going out of business. And all of them miss that. All of them miss it. But that's just my critique on all of that. Okay? But capitalism in brief. And again, none of these, I keep trying to tell people, we don't have capitalism, we don't have socialism, and you don't have communism out here. You don't have any, you have this from state capitalism to pseudo, like neo-feudalism is a huge thing in a lot of cases. State capitalism, this pseudo mumbo jumbo. We don't have free markets. Okay, a free market. I mentioned markets earlier. A free market. Now we come into this. A free market can happen in any type of economy: capitalism, socialism, communism, bartering, and variants that are more obscure. Okay, black markets. Black markets are free markets. They are. Believe it or not, those are the only examples on the planet of free markets right now. Or your dealings that you do on an interpersonal level. We don't have free markets. You have fixed pricing and things of that nature. You have occasionally negotiations, occasionally in bartering, what things are. But free markets dictate that anybody can come in the game that meets prerequisite notions, that has a prerequisites. Some are lower threshold of what you got to bring to the table with experience and know-how, but anybody can come in the game and be competitive. If you outcompete, you succeed. There isn't all this red tape and all these regulations that hinder you from being successful and to even go in. Right now in the United States, for example, if you don't have something like $60,000, if you're talking about being a farmer, you just it's not going to happen. Okay, a lot of businesses, some businesses don't cost much, but if a lot of us have to still work at the same time as even to try to do a side business, which is rough on you. Trust me on that one. It is very difficult to have a side hustle and a side business when you have to spend all this time devoted to building somebody else's business. Okay, so with that being said, free markets are the marketplace where you can enter into the game. Yes, there is a risk, but if more people can enter into the game, there is a less of risk for everybody involved. People don't understand that. They think, all this regulation is going to help. It's really not. It's hindering everybody from being successful, and it hurts your economy. The more people that can diversify an economy. Oh, this is something I meant to say earlier. Okay, I knew there was something I was forgetting. So, diversifying an economy. West Virginia and different places that struggle with poverty, that struggle with everybody making ends meet, is because they only have like one industry or one predominant industry. When the cotton was king, that was terrible in the agriculture of the South. If you're in a village that only fishes, that's terrible for your economy. If you're in a tourism based economy, that's terrible. You need to be diverse. You need your jewelers. And people could say, oh, luxury. Luxury items are good. It gives more people job. It gives higher class specialization. Also, if you have an example, it's kind of like biodiversity in an ecosystem, okay, from biological narrative. And in biology, when you have frogs, when you have creatures that are very niche, however you want to pronounce it, right, that are very um not fragile, but are very concerned about, they're not the most tolerant. If there are certain living conditions that are met, you get a vast array of creatures, both aquatically, terrestrially, or as well as in the air. In the same sense, if you have a very healthy economy, that means you have great diversity. The United States, for when it's had its healthiest economy, for example, it had a grand, vast amount of businesses and industries. That's just how it works. In the areas that have the highest grossing wealth, it's because they have the most industries. Because this is what it's going to do. People are going to want something, right? They're either going to move to where the business is, or they see the opportunity. There's opportunity there. You hear people talking about they wanting opportunity. Well, opportunity means I can potentially stake a claim in this game to get my piece of the pie, as well as people who don't have those services are going to travel and go and put money in those coffers. Okay? So you want more competition and more diversity. Even if it seems to go against you, everybody eats. Look at the restaurant industry. You can never have enough in the restaurant industry. Because listen, you can have a diner, you can have Indian food, you have Thai food, you could have Chinese food, you have Japanese food, you can have burgers, you can have seafood, you can have brunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you name it. Tacos, Mexican food, you can have all these types of foods, Ethiopian food, whatever the case may be, right? It's such a wide open field. Everybody can eat, and it plays for somebody else. And then that makes me like, ooh, this whole. You ever been to a town? You're like, damn, they got nothing to eat, bro. You go like, they got McDonald's and Burger King. That's all they pretty much got. Maybe Subway. Versus you go to place. Ooh, look at that. They got this. Honey, you want to go here? The kids like, we want to go here. Want to go here? Boom. Competition raises all waters. A rising tide raises all ships. Right. So with all that being said, let's go into these economics, all right, and try to end this video, wrap it up in a quick fashion. Capitalism, again, investment. You need all these elements, but the focus is on investment, right? You invest into all of this stuff, right? You seed the money, looking for division of labor, okay? You're looking to gain profits. And in essence, in a nutshell, that is capitalism. Why do I say we don't have capitalism? Is because this economy around the globe does not let someone gain as much. You have things like antitrust laws. You have things that so much legal red tape. You got to pay this. You got to pay that. You got to all this foolishness because things aren't privatized to where People, capitalists aren't making as much. People think they see the billions of dollars, and I'm like, everybody should be making more. Everybody should be getting money, right? This is not capitalism. Capitalism is, let's say, someone, Bob had a tire shop, and let's say I was a mechanic. I can come into the game, open up my mechanic shop. Now we might work in tandem, or I might compete. You ever see gas stations do this all the time? Things like Walgreens and CVS do this all the time. They open up right next to each other. And you could say, well, that's competition taken away. That's smart competition. You have competitor right across the street. Smart competition. Plus, it's central and localized. Smart competition. Coffee shops right across the street. Now I get a choice. Also, it's going to bring me back. That's where or a place where it has all the bars. That's where you go. Smart competition, right? Capitalism, like I mentioned, division of labor. Okay, that's why the assembly line is such. And again, this is very bare bones. There's more to capitalism than that, but this is what the focus on. When it comes to socialism, you do have labor rights. You are focused on the means of production. That's the heavy focus, is the means of production and how to produce efficiently and the best. And everybody gets a good fair share. That doesn't mean everybody gets an equal share, but that's kind of how it is. There isn't so much of an hierarchy. And when it comes to communism, I can go more in depth. There's two major, and there's really three schools of thought, but that's going more into socioeconomics, so I won't address on that in this time. But communism says everybody can get a share of the game. Now, there's a misconception on communism that means everybody is to uh, forced to have the same thing. That's tyrannical. That is not communism. Communism is voluntary. If you don't want to work, bro, you don't want to work. You feel me? You don't want to work for that. But everybody, they recognize that the community, the communal achievement can be higher than just everybody trying to get it on their own. So what you're going to have in communist businesses is you're not going to have these massive structures. That was never the case. People don't understand that communism is not meant to be massive. They see these nations that claim communism. They weren't communists. They did not do anything communistic at all. Just because you say bare bones, everybody produce. If it was communism, you would have heavy production because people would have been happy. They would have been, because people like to work. People like to build. They like to be productive and do things with their hands. There wouldn't have been dreariness. That you want to have the state. Communism is the antithesis of the state. Economics has nothing to do with politics, anyways, but communism specifically is the antithesis of the state. Bartering is, we come to a situational agreement. I come up with my pricing. The initial person has this price. Let's say $8.55. I'm like, bro, I don't know, 505 looking better than me. That person's like, I can do you a solid 735. You're like, I'm feeling 610. That person's like, listen, bro, I like you. I'm gonna hit you for that $7. You like, what? That sounds like a good deal to me. And that's bartering. Bartering is coming to a mutual conclusion. It happens on the street. It happens interpersonally. Okay, you negotiate. We talk about it, negotiation. That's in basic bartering in most cases. You can have that, and you don't really see that kind of economy so much because modernizing, and also you have currencies because of it being easier and more convenient. But that is another form. Overall, like I said, this is like a crash course introduction that I promised to do. And like I said, there's more that I can talk about on any one of these areas, but I wanted to give y'all like a basic knowledge of this game out here. So in case you want a reference point, you can come back to this video. Unexpected, want to like, comment, subscribe, tell me your thoughts. And like I said, if you want me to talk more in depth on any one of these subjects, capitalism, socialism, communism, things that I mean, please let me know, and we will try to get that for you on this channel. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace.